refrigeration. When you know exactly what you want, Amana. By Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. And brought to you by the Highland Potato Chip Company. Well, I'll tell you, Coach, anybody who doesn't think a defensive game can be exciting, not only was that a great game at Wisconsin, but the big thing is you won it.
Well, it was a very tough physical ball game, Jim, and certainly Wisconsin played with a lot of emotion and did an excellent job on defense, but our defense held them to full first downs, and our offense produced when we had to.
Well, you sure did, and that touchdown by Mike Saunders, I'm telling you, has there been a greater thrill in a defensive game for a long time than that? We'll take a look at all the highlights on the Hayden Fry Show. Stay tuned. Even though you came into the game at Madison as a solid favorite, you warned all week long that Wisconsin was much improved and the game was going to be tough, and it was.
It's pretty difficult, Jim, going into a hostile environment after a big defeat by Michigan and having 5 guys on the staff that were here for 8 years, a couple of them for 11 years, knowing everything about us and being without some of our key people. They had a great advantage, and that's why I'm so proud of the Hawkeyes of hanging in there and winning the game. You can see Lew Montgomery running hard to the football. This is the first time he's ever played running back on the college level, and I was very proud of Lew. He picked up the running game very well, but obviously we didn't have enough time to teach him all the passing game. But he rips off gains of 9 and 7 yards the first couple of times he touches the ball. This is Matt Rodgers, who had an extremely tough game because of the knowledge of the Wisconsin coaches about our offense, the audibles, the crowd noise, but Matt hung in there and made some very fine plays. You know, I don't want to get lost in the shuffle, Jim. We made 24 first downs and 360-something yards.
Right.
We had the ball 40.5 minutes opposed to 19.5 minutes. So when we look at the overall game, not only did the defense play a superb job in limiting to 4 first downs, but we kept the ball away from Wisconsin.
And as you said, Coach, with all the injuries, Rod Davis and Scooter Lampkin out and having to switch positions, I think it was pretty amazing what you did.
Well, Moses Santos also was in that group, but, you know, we certainly want to give Wisconsin credit. They did an excellent job and played with a lot of emotion, but, you know, there's a lot to winning. At first, you got to scare people, get close. Then you got to get a few upsets. Then the next level is to get a winning season. Then the next level is to win a championship. And then the final level where we are is establish some consistency in the program. So I hope the fans at Wisconsin don't get carried away with Wisconsin's performance just against us. They've still got a long way to go.
That's right. And they, last year kind of put all their eggs in one basket, then lost to Northwestern the next week.
You can see that Wisconsin's trying everything they can. That was a flea flicker. And this little freshman quarterback, his first start, I thought he did a fine job. He had an awful lot of pressure with our defense. Our defense was just super in all phases of the game. The pass defense, this is one you see Lew, it bounced off his hands and they get an interception. And these type of things happened all day. It's very frustrating. There's no question about it from an offensive standpoint to have 24 first downs and have to score right in the last few seconds of the game to win it.
But that often happens in a defensive game.
Well, it does, and I hope people are knowledgeable enough to realize good defense. A lot of people think you have to score a lot of points to have a good football game. This one was overthrown. It's very windy down there on the field. This is probably the finest defensive cornerback in the Big Ten, Vince Benson.
Yeah.
And I know the pro scouts are extremely high on him. This is a great play by our defense again. This had a great bearing on the game because we blocked the extra point.
That's right.
And as a result, it was 6-0 rather than 7, and this gave us an opportunity now to go for a field goal.
Great catch by Daniel Hughes.
You can see the offensive line come off, and Lew Montgomery running very hard. Paul Kajava started for us at fullback. And Jeff Skillett makes the field goal. He had one miss just by a few inches off to the left. And as I say, we had a pretty good crosswind, and it hampered the punters and the kickers.
Okay, Wisconsin having a lot of trouble with your defense. They got a total of 36 yards for the whole ball game on the ground.
Jim, I think they either had one or 2 first downs by halftime.
That's right.
There's Olejniczak and Derby, Ted Faley, Gator, Nelson. We started Bret Bielema at nose guard, and he had an excellent game.
He had a great game, didn't he?
All the guys in secondary obviously had a good game. When you get a total offense of 82 yards, as many times they tried to throw it.
Right.
Hayden did a wonderful job kicking the ball and made one of the most intelligent plays that we've had here in years on that 4th down fumble snap, and they had the intelligence to throw the incomplete pass, so they got it out around the 20 with the line of scrimmage.
The line of scrimmage was just like a rock out there. Oh, there was some hitting down there, wasn't there?
That was some great hitting. There's no question about it. Very emotional ball game. We had some near misses.
Right. Here's a great play by Isaac now. Look at it.
Fumble snap. He's trying to get it to Alan Cross there, number 87. That was a very smart play. Put the ball back on the 20-yard line in the line of scrimmage. And this is the longest gain of the day running for 9 yards for Wisconsin. And they do a good job down here.
But you do too.
Well, yeah, they get a holding call here. You can see we've got
key play right here.
Have a guy tackled there. And then we have a grab job right there in the end zone. I think we've got an end zone shot too, just
we do,
so that the fans at Wisconsin
here it is. Now look in the back
that he made a mistake.
And one of you guys gets tackled there.
That's a tremendous end zone shot.
It is, right. That's Terrell Fletcher, their great little freshman back.
You can see the wind also bothered their kicker. He barely misses the field goal.
That's right. So it's still 6-3, end of the first half. When you went into halftime, what was the mood of the team, and what was your mood?
Well, we couldn't audibilize. There's a lot of things we couldn't do. We were very upset, so we had to change up at halftime.
All right, change up you did. Hawkeyes go on to win it, but I'll tell you, it was a knockdown, slam-bang ball game. We'll be back with the second half right after this. Another thing we should mention is how much you have totally dominated the Wisconsin. You've never lost to Wisconsin, so consequently, I would think that makes each game a little bit harder to win.
Well, you know, Jim, it's like playing golf. You eventually luck into a good putt or hit a good drive, and it doesn't go out in the woods and kill a squirrel. The odds are in their favor is what I'm trying to say to you. And, you know, we knew this with all the coaches on their staff, the knowledge they had of us, it was going to be a tough game. And certainly Wisconsin lived up to it. They played with tremendous emotion. They're very tough. They're well coached. And Coach Alvarez got his program on the way. But the fact remains that we hung in there, kept our poise, and won the ball game.
That's the important thing. That little pass from Macias to Terrell Fletcher. You had some great 3rd and 4th down conversions in this.
Well, we really did. Here's Lew Montgomery, his first time at running back, and of course we were limited what we could do, but Lew did an excellent job running. We got some great blocking up front from time to time, the offensive line. And, you know, the good Lord just took care of us and taken Mike Saunders on a trip because he's from Wisconsin.
That's right.
Now, look at Lew, rip up in the middle.
He's tremendous.
Baxley, Belliser, Baroni, Scott Davis, Devlin, Bob Rees, all of those guys came in. Dave Turner did an excellent job. They just did an excellent job in critical situations blocking for the runners and the protection they gave.
This was one of those almost deals, but you had Troy Vincent guarding the guy back there.
Troy Vincent did an excellent job deflecting the ball. That was Kenny Jones in the end zone. This was a very poor run route here, and we ran a circle permitting number 10 to break in underneath to get the interception. I'm sure the fans think that was Matt Rodgers' fault, but it wasn't.
Okay, Macias now. What a job on Terrell Fletcher.
I'll tell you, John Derby, another player from Wisconsin, what a great game he had. Just in Bielema, his first start.
Yeah.
Those guys just played tremendous football.
Well, as I said, you held them to a total of 82 yards total offense.
Larry Blue and Leroy Smith did an excellent job. Hopefully we'll get Moses Santos back this week, but the two ends put a lot of pressure.
They did.
Critical 3rd down and long play to Alan Cross. And you can see when Matt really fires the ball, he's as good as anyone.
That's right. Look at that.
Great catch by Harold Jasper on a comeback route.
Good protection.
Excellent job by Rodgers going to his second receiver rather than the primary receiver who was covered.
Alan Cross.
Excellent pickup job by Mike Saunders, a strike to Dana Hughes.
Right.
John Falloon had an excellent game, particularly blocking downfield.
All right, here we go again.
This is a super kick by Isaac into a crosswind.
Yeah.
But watch this. You see Mr. Benson and how good he is.
Yeah.
That's a great tackle there, a one-arm tackle by Isaac, the punter, to save a touchdown.
That's right. And Vincent, don't forget, led the nation most of the season in punt returns.
Well, we put so much pressure. They even had a fumble snap there from the center.
Yeah, right.
Once again, we don't have very good field position, and it's critical. Now, they stripped the ball loose some way of our tight end, jerked the ball out.
Right, because that was a completed pass, and they got it. So here they are on offense now.
Great pressure again.
Macias scrambling around for his life, the quarterback. Okay, this play, Hayden, was their second first down of the ball game right here. Isn't that amazing?
It's incredible. Excellent job pursuing the football. Brian Wise and Olejniczak and Book and Gary Clark, Eddie Polly, Scott Plate, Carlos James. All those guys in the secondary did an excellent job on the run as well as the pass.
There you are, conferring with your field general. Look at that defense.
Both the linebackers, the nose guard, and the tackle there. I just thought all of the defensive coaches did an excellent job in preparation.
Oh, they did, didn't they?
Leroy Smith pulled him up on the bootleg.
Yeah.
And then the backside pursuit just smothered him. Sure, this was a rude awakening for that freshman quarterback in his first ball game. Look at the great play by Ron Gator.
Unbelievable.
He backhanded him, grabbed his jersey and pulled him down. He's so strong.
Yeah.
Another fine run by Mike Saunders.
And playing hurt, too.
Playing hurt. Matt Whitaker and Alan Cross really helped out with their blocking up front.
Great run there.
Beautiful move by Dana Hughes. I think we have a replay on this one. All the young high school football players watch this. Instead of running out of bounds with an out route, just whirl back inside sometime and pick up another 20.
Great example by Hughes.
Well, they did a good job of holding us again one way or the other, and that's Fletcher for gain of 1.
Right, Terrell Fletcher. And that's Ware in motion there, they're in.
Beautiful interception by Jason Olejniczak.
We're going to watch this one again because this was really the defensive key to the ball game.
Jason has great anticipation, great hands.
That's sophomore quarterback Samala in there throwing that one.
That's another quarterback out of Decorah High School state championship who wanted to play defense for us, and he's done an exceptional job. Now we get all the critical down situations. All of these, Jim, are either 3rd and 8 or 9 or 4th down and 8 or 9, or in the last one it's 4th and 5 just for first down.
I tell you, the tension, Hayden, is so great up there that when you down the field, you know what it was like. You cut it with a knife.
It was Alan Cross. The first one was Mike Saunders. That was to Alan Cross.
Yeah.
This one's to Mike Saunders for gain of 5, and we're calling timeout after each one. We saved all of them. This is a TD pass here, 4th down and 5.
Watch this now. 4th and 5, about 38 seconds to play, and wow, in the end zone.
Beautiful pattern by Mike, a great throw, real fine protection. They rushed 8 people on that play.
Here we go again.
Our offensive line and backs did a great job.
Look at that.
I just wondered, Jim, what would have happened to me with the news media had we failed here and everyone said we could have kicked a field goal and had a tie instead of going for it. Now, I want to get the record straight. We never discussed going for a field goal. We went up there to win the ball game, and that's what we did.
Talked to some of your players afterwards, and they said, no way was Coach going to go for a field goal.
Well, when you have poised, experienced seniors like we have, along with the other people, we have a winning program, and success breeds success. They knew we could put it in there, and they did it.
Well, you just saw, I think, Coach, an example of one of the great victories since you've been here. Really.
Well, it was a very difficult one, Jim. Wisconsin obviously had a lot going in their favor.
Well, one of the men that Hayden appreciates most on his staff is the man who coaches the quarterbacks and the receivers, Donnie Patterson. We're going to have a chat with Donnie Patterson in just a couple of moments. Stay tuned.
Join the iClub and by Voice of the Hawkeyes. Keep up with Iowa sports with the Voice of the Hawkeyes.
Officially affiliated with the University of Iowa Athletic Department.
The pregame conversation between Hayden Fry and former Hawkeye assistant coach Barry Alvarez was very businesslike, much like the Iowa Hawkeyes trod into jam-packed Camp Randall Stadium and the play of the Wisconsin defense, which introduced itself to the Hawkeyes loud and clear on the first play of the game, a 5-yard gain by Lew Montgomery. Moments later, Iowa quarterback Matt Rodgers gained 10 yards of his own, but as an omen of things to come, the Hawkeye offensive unit couldn't sustain the drive and was forced to give the ball to the home team. Wisconsin learned the hard way that it was going to be the Hawkeye defense that controlled the tempo.
Defense really turned around from last week and played we didn't let them score anything, and I'm not sure how many yards they got against us, but we just came to prove to ourselves and to everybody else that we are a good defensive team.
Iowa looked to Lew Montgomery and fullback Paul Kiyava on its next possession. Together in the same backfield for the first time in '91 because of injuries to teammates, Iowa's newest backfield combination made big-time gains on these plays. But the holes were quickly covered up by a Badger defense and earned high praise from the Hawkeyes.
Wisconsin was doing a real number on us. They did a masterful job mixing up their defenses, playing some defenses we'd never seen before, prepared for. The crowd was so loud we couldn't audibilize.
Oh, I think they did an unbelievable job. They did everything that they needed to do. Got a couple big plays, a couple Oskies, and that's what you're going to expect from a team with Alvarez and McCarney. Just a fired-up defense, hard playing, and it's just like the Iowa defense because they learned everything from Coach Brazier, and now they're out doing it themselves.
Turnovers hadn't been a problem for the 1991 Hawks, but Iowa's second against the Badgers proved disastrous.
Now Matt Rodgers is back to throw, sets it up, gonna fire deep. Danon Hughes, ball is intercepted again. At the 35-40, up to the 45-50, Troy Vincent, down to the 40, 35, 30, 20, cuts it back at the 10, 5, touchdown! So Matt Rodgers has thrown 2 interceptions in this game, as many as he has thrown all season long.
Troy Vincent's spectacular interception return ignited the partisan Camp Randall crowd. But Iowa's special teams unit turned in a big play of their own when reserve defensive back Marcus Porter blocked the Badgers' point-after attempt to limit the Wisconsin lead to just 6 points. Looking for points of their own, the Hawkeye offense went to work. Lew Montgomery bounced around left end for a gain of 7 tough yards before Rodgers went to the air and found a streaking Harold Jasper free on the left sideline for 16 more. The catch moved Iowa across midfield and set up this 11-yard pass from Rodgers to Danon Hughes. Montgomery added 4 more yards to the stingy Badger defense before Iowa's drive stalled at the Wisconsin 19, where Fry called for place kicker Jeff Skillett.
Let's put a man in motion. Ball's down. Here's the kick, end over end, and this one is good. So give Skillett credit.
The senior's 29-yard field goal cut the Badger lead in half and put the hard-hitting Iowa defense back on the turf. Bret Bielema and Murray Crane filled in admirably at nose guard for injured Rod Davis. But it was tackles Ron Gator and Jeff Nelson and linebacker John Derby that spearheaded Iowa's effort. They've maintained their position as leaders of a fast-improving defensive unit that ranks among the nation's 10 in yards allowed per game. Late in the second quarter, after a misplayed Iowa punt, the Hawkeye defense was tested again. Just 20 yards, and the Hawkeye defense stood between the Badgers and a double-digit lead. But an apparent Wisconsin touchdown was flagged by the officials. The Badgers' Joe Panos apparently didn't block Iowa's Bret Bielema as much as he tackled him. The call ignited a flurry of protests from Wisconsin head coach Barry Alvarez, but his pleas fell on deaf ears, and when hit with a 10-yard holding penalty, the Badger offense yielded the field to place kicker Matt Kruger, who missed on a 30-yard field goal attempt. Once again, the Hawkeye defense held.
We just felt like the game was on our shoulders. I mean, early on, you know, I guess right at the beginning of the game, the offense was going down the field a little bit. But once we knew, you know, what Wisconsin was going to try and do to us, and we worked on that during the week. But we just knew as the game progressed, I mean, the offense just wasn't on today. I mean, the timing was off, and they were just having a tough time today. And so we just felt like, you know, the game was on our shoulders.
And Iowa perfected defense in the second half. Here, Carlos James, John Derby, and Leroy Smith laid down the law. Later, it was Larry Blue's turn to harass Wisconsin quarterback Jay Macias. The Hawkeye charge was on, and it was working. The Badgers entered the fourth quarter with just 2 first downs to their credit, and were finding it nearly impossible to move the football. Still trailing by 3, Iowa looked to the air to gain the lead. Rodgers hooked up with Hughes on this nifty 30-yard gain that pushed Iowa deep into Wisconsin territory for the first time since Skillet's field goal. Iowa's drive came to an abrupt halt moments later when Wisconsin's Brandon Lynch grabbed this errant toss by a battered Matt Rodgers. The interception appeared to swing the momentum in Wisconsin's favor, and an upset was looking likely. The Badgers' celebration was short-lived, however. Iowa defensive back Jason Olejniczak gets the ball right back with this interception of new Wisconsin quarterback Jay Samala.
The defense was looking for a turnover, and it just happened that they threw it my way, and I was glad I came up with it. They were just sprinting out my way, and they had trips out there, and I kind of hid behind the tight end and hoping that they'd throw it up to him, and they tried to stick it over my head, and it just fell a little short right to me, actually.
Only 3 minutes remained in this Big Ten showdown, but that was plenty of time for Rodgers and company. Facing 4th and 8, the Hawkeyes' all-Big Ten quarterback settled in the pocket and found sure-handed John Falloon free in the right flat for a gain of 11. 3 plays later, it was tight end Alan Cross who gained 9 and another first down for the charging Hawkeye offense, this time converting on 3rd and 8. Seconds later, it was Rodgers and Mike Saunders hooking up for a gain of 5, setting up a 4th and 5 with 50 seconds remaining and no timeouts left.
The Hawks are going to try and win the game. Matt Rodgers sets. Here they come, and here's the throw, and there it is, down to the end zone. Touchdown, and going in, Mike Saunders out of Milton, Wisconsin. And the Hawks pulled the play. Hayden Fry decided, I'm going to go for the win.
We're not going to go for the tie. I'd already told everybody we're not kicking a damn field goal. We're going for the whole ball of wax.
Matt's a clutch quarterback. You know, he played well. You know, had a lot of trouble. You know, having time to get the ball off, but he got it done in the end, and that's what counts. We needed to get the first down. We'd been running underneath, and so I just, you know, got a chance and gave him a move and got outside of him.
The catch was one of 7 in the game for Saunders, who saw action despite a painful rib injury that nearly kept him in Iowa City. Instead, his touchdown and a strong effort by Iowa's defensive unit resulted in a 10-6 Hawkeye victory, Iowa's 14th over the Badgers since 1977.
Our offense obviously made mistakes and sputtered, but when we had to do it, I don't know if we've ever had more clutch, consecutive 4th down conversions for first downs to keep the down box moving, and then even the touchdown was a 4th down play that we had to have.
You know, when we really want to play, we can play. And, you know, it kind of reminds me of what happened at Michigan last year. You know, right towards the end, we took it away from them.
We really needed it. I mean, I think it would have really hurt the team if we came out of here with the loss. We got the confidence to come in here, and, you know, we sucked it up at the end of the game and came through with the big play at the end of the game, and our defense really turned around from last week and played I mean, we didn't let them score anything, and I'm not sure how many yards they got against us, but we just came to prove to ourselves and to everybody else that we are a good defensive team.
When Matt Rodgers and Saunders and Montgomery and the offensive line and those people had to do it, they came through. And you know, it's an old cliche, but that's what football's all about.
Stay tuned for a look at Big Ten battle number 3 for the Hawkeyes. This Saturday's date with the 11th ranked Fighting Illini of the University of Illinois. Coach Fry reflected on Iowa's dramatic victory last Saturday against Wisconsin, a game that was tough for the players and the coaches.
We have a very fine football team. You people will never understand, and I don't want to take anything away from Wisconsin, but you'll never understand the advantage that those people had in the ball game. You can't be on my staff for 11 years and 8 years. I mean, I'm proud of those guys. I helped them get their jobs because of the advancement for them. I'd be greatly disappointed if they didn't play well, but you guys don't realize the advantage you have if you associate with a staff all these years. We're not going to change things just because somebody else goes someplace else. Well, if you have a real good understanding of what we do and why we do it and what we do in certain situations and why we do it, this and that, then you got a great advantage in setting a defense to play against it.
To be able to stick together and, you know, get through some bad times during the game and to overcome those mistakes and win, it's a real big lift. You know, hopefully it'll carry us through the rest of the season. It just shows that we got a lot of character, and going through, you know, we just stuck together all the way through the game. The defense never got down on the offense and just kept trying to get the ball back as many times as we could for them. And just pulling it out at the end just shows that how we're so close together, and we knew that we'd pull it out at the end. And, you know, it really helps our confidence knowing that we'll be there for each other through tough games.
The Hawkeyes know they will have their hands full this Saturday against one of the surprises of the Big Ten, the Fighting Illini.
I'm probably more surprised at how well they're playing than I am to say Michigan State being 0-5. And there's no way in my life I could fathom anything like that happening at Michigan State. And the reason I say that because going into last season, Illinois had more All-Big Ten players and more potential All-Americans and whatever than any team in the Big Ten last year. And they graduated so many of those tremendous players. But the key ingredients returned, starting with Verduzco at quarterback. And they have an excellent football team.
I'm sure that they got all kinds of articles up and everything reliving last year, and I'm sure revenge is going to be a key factor for them. But as we know, every game in the Big Ten is big, so we got to prepare ourselves that way.
It's a huge game. It's the biggest right now of the season. And, you know, we're taking 1 week at a time, and right now this is the biggest game of the season.
Nice to get a big lead early on this team, maybe, like you did last year?
Oh, you know, you like that every week, but we know that they're going to try to come in here and do the same thing we did to them, and that's why it's even more important. You know, that they're mad, and we have to come out mad ourselves that, you know, we've lost already, and we have to just try to improve. It's going to be a big challenge. We have a lot of respect for the defense, and looking back on last year's, I'm sure they're getting really pumped up about this game, being that, you know, we ruined their homecoming. And this is our homecoming. They're just going to, you know, and plus looking at the type of game that we played against Wisconsin, it's been a real motivational factor for them. But this game has also been a motivational factor for us in that, you know, we're going to go out and give it our all. You know, we had a long week of preparation, getting ready for the Illini, and we feel real comfortable about doing so.
With Marvin Lampkin and Mike Saunders slowed by injuries, Iowa fullback Lew Montgomery moved to tailback against Wisconsin and came through with 66 yards on 20 carries.
My feelings on it is that it really doesn't matter to me. I'm just willing to contribute to this team in any way possible, whether it be at fullback or tailback. In this Saturday's game, you know, I would look forward to playing possibly both of them.
How comfortable do you feel at tailback?
I feel real comfortable. I mean, this past Saturday against Wisconsin, it seems as though I felt like I'd been playing it all season long, primarily due to the fact that, you know, I played it in high school. And, you know, it's a lot different than playing fullback, but it was something that I was able to adjust to real quickly. Being that it's a new position and all, it doesn't really affect me in any matter because, like I said, I feel real comfortable about playing it, and it's just a matter of finding daylight and hitting it and, you know, getting what I can out of it.
Coaching great centers is nothing new for Hayden Fry at Iowa. And following in the tradition of players like the Hilgenbergs is Iowa center Mike Devlin, the anchor of Iowa's highly touted offensive line.
I'll put it this way. I don't know that there's a better center in college football than Mike Devlin. A lot of centers don't have the added responsibility of being the offensive line quarterback, and mentally he has to prepare just like Matt Rodgers. He's got to study all the different stunts, alignments, blocking schemes, and communicate that to all the rest of the players, and then snap the ball up to the quarterback so we don't fumble it, and then execute his block just like all the rest of the linemen. And he does that in superb fashion game after game.
You know, it's a great compliment coming from Coach Fry, but, you know, with that, you're going to have people coming after you, so you're just going to have to improve.
How would you rate the offensive line play so far this year?
I think we're improving week to week. Each week there's a new challenge as far as new defenses and, you know, people coming after us, twisting and slanting and all that, and we just have to take each week one at a time.
And next on that list for Devlin and the rest of the Hawkeyes is Illinois, who are playing well on both sides of the ball.
Illinois has excellent personnel and excellent scheme. I'm always just so impressed with the coaching that Illinois does. I mean, from the time they break the huddle, everything is 1, 2, 3. I mean, the way they line up, the stance they get into, they just look sharp. And that's a credit to Coach Makovic and his coaches. They don't make very many mistakes. You've got to really play good, sound, hard-nosed football, and then on both sides of the ball, you better have a few tricks for Illinois, because you're not going to just beat them face up unless you do have Michigan personnel or maybe Ohio State personnel, and it's already proven they've beaten Ohio State, so they have a tremendous football team.
I think they're playing better defensively. They're swarming to the ball, and they're out hustling people, and that's what we have to take into account this year.
Like Iowa, the Fighting Illini won their last game against Ohio State in the final seconds. Coach Fry thinks it makes this game evenly matched.
Both teams have had that gut check, and both of them came through in real good shape. Both teams have lost one game, and they have defeated a better ball club than anyone we've defeated in Ohio State. That's the big difference. On the other hand, we showed that we could play against real quality people for a half with the Michigan game, the way we got out in front, 18-7. So I think both teams have got pluses and minuses, and I think it's going to be an excellent football game.
Next up on Hawkeye Sports Magazine is a visit with defensive line coach Milan Vooletich. Please stay tuned for this and more.
Iowa is the most recent stop for Milan Vooletich, known as the Crazy Serbian, who coaches Iowa's defensive ends. Raised in football-rich Western Pennsylvania, he has crossed paths with a number of great athletes and coaches. The most animated member of Iowa's coaching staff has a lot of insight into the history and demands of big-time college football. You've worked with a lot of great coaches, including Bill McCartney, Bo Schembechler, Alex Agassi, and Hayden Fry. What do these coaches have in common?
What they have in common is this. Each one of them is their own individual person. But I'll make a foolish statement. They're old-timers in this regard. I think they follow some very, very good principles. I see it in Hayden. Hayden is Hayden. But I see in Hayden the things I've seen all along. He's hard-working. He is a very principled individual. And he is demanding, yet he's very nice about it. And I found that with the McCartneys. I found that with the Mallorys, found that with the Schembechlers, and Alex Agassi. That's the way he was. And, you know, and I think all those men are successful. And I think that the way they do it is based upon some very, very important principles that they all have. And that's why they had success. And I think they teach the young men the same thing. If the young men will listen, they'll learn and grow from that.
Among those same coaches, how have they differed?
Oh, I think, you know, just when you mentioned personality-wise, they are different, and maybe some principles they have that for the game are somewhat different, but the approach and how they carry things out, all the same.
Why did you leave a program like Michigan for Rice when Michigan is one of the best and Rice is a little iffy?
I went with a very good friend of mine, a gentleman since 1964, and he was the head coach at the University of Pennsylvania. And he went down and he offered me the position of assistant head coach and defensive coordinator, which I had not had to that point. And so, you know, I got on my camel as a gypsy and I went down there.
Have you regretted any of your moves?
In all honesty, no. I have not. What it has given me, you just brought up a point. I had the opportunity to work with the Mallorys, the Schembecklers, Hayden Fry, worked with Jerry Burnett Rice, worked with Bill McCartney, Jack Harbaugh. A lot of fine, fine coaches. And what it did is it gave me a much better perspective. And if you stay in one place, it could be great, but I'm not sure you get the breadth and the depth that might be necessary to make you really the best you could be. And I feel very good about having had the opportunity to work with those men and for those men.
Your oldest boy, Dan, played at North Carolina. He was graduate assistant coach at Indiana. He didn't pursue a career in football after graduation. What were his reasons for that, and did you have any part in that?
Well, no, his mom told him to get a real job.
Oh, she did?
And, no, he's a very smart young man, and I think he's doing what is right and best for him, and I think he's right.
Your other boy, Brian, is now playing football, and do you think he'll stick with it?
No, he's going to go into business, finance, something of that nature. Okay. But, you know, the interesting thing, too, is this, that he'll probably, when he graduates, begin pursuing a master's as Dan did, which we've emphasized, and I think is important. And it's both good boys, smart. They take after their dad intellectually, but thank God they take after mom. But they're really, they've accomplished a great deal in the classroom, and that's what's most important to us.
You've been part of a lot of big games. What are some of the biggest?
The victory in Ann Arbor. I'd spent 8 years there on the other sideline. I went in the first time, not being one of them. It's a Hawkeye. Went in and stood on that other sideline. The way our kids played and that victory, and I just want you to know I didn't fly on the plane home. I flew like this home. I was sky high after that victory, believe me. No, it was a great victory. And certainly the Illinois victory was a great victory. But personally to me, that one.
It's now time for the Iowa coaching staff's game MVP awards. Senior Mike Saunders was the offensive MVP in the Hawkeyes' 10-6 win of Wisconsin. The Hawkeye tailback gained 44 yards on the ground, another 38 via the pass, and scored Iowa's only touchdown from 14 yards out with less than a minute left to play to help move Iowa's overall record to 4-1 and its Big Ten mark to an even 1-1. Defensive MVP honors went to another native of the Badger State, linebacker John Derby. The Hawkeyes senior co-captain collected a team-high 13 tackles, including 10 solo stops, while leading a defensive charge that limited Wisconsin to just 82 yards of total offense and 4 first downs. Derby led a defense that shut out the Badgers, whose only points came on an interception return. Special team honors were shared by reserve linebacker Matt Hilliard, who helped contain Wisconsin's always dangerous Troy Vincent, and punter Jim Hyzak, who averaged better than 36 yards on 5 kicks and made 1 touchdown-saving tackle on Wisconsin's fleet-footed return specialist. The Offensive Hustle Award was given to center Mike Devlin. The Marlton, New Jersey native was instrumental in Iowa's rushing attack against an emotionally charged Wisconsin defense. The Defensive Hustle Award went to the entire unit, which posted its first shutout of the 1992 season. The Hawkeye defensive unit also limited Wisconsin to a mere 4 first downs and came up with a critical takeaway late in the fourth quarter that set up Iowa's game-winning drive. Thanks for watching this week's edition of Hawkeye Sports Magazine. And don't forget to tune in next week when we take a look back at Iowa's 1991 homecoming date for the University of Illinois Fighting Illini.